Welcome to this evening's performance of Why the Long Face. Please welcome to the stage, playing Sammy Petersen, my friend and yours, Sammy Petersen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. The year was 2018. I'm standing in a comedy club doing my dream job. I'm standing up in a comedy club, stand-up comedy. Is it the best gig I've ever done? No. Is it the worst gig I've ever done? There are too many to mention. But the gig is going fine, right? But this night's a little bit different. Usually when I get the first joke out, people start to laugh and I start to relax a little bit. But this time it's different. My heart just starts to beat a little bit faster, and it gets faster and faster and faster. I look down and my hands are just completely shaking and they're uncontrollable. I look down at my legs and they're starting to buckle, and then they just go. My eyes start to close. I wake up and I'm lying on the ground of the comedy venue. I look up at the most confused crowd I've ever seen in my entire life. But to be fair, I'm pretty confused too. All I hear up the back is one person say, "Is this still part of the act?" At that point of my life, I was 26 years old. All I ever wanted to do was stand-up comedy, right? That's all I ever wanted to do in my whole life. I get taken by a comedian, they take me to hospital, right? I find out that night that I have a heart condition, right? My time in stand-up had all come to an end at the age of 26. He told me I'd never do it again. Spoiler. God, I proved him wrong. Take that, medicine. I moved to Melbourne at the age of 18 years old with the vision of just doing comedy. I moved all the way from Phillip Island, which, if you don't know Phillip Island, it's about 2 hours and 15 years from Melbourne. And I packed a lot into those comedy chasing years. A lot of highlights and many, many lowlights. As I was walking out of the venue, I'm being taken by a comedian down the stairs. He is carrying me out of this venue. The last thing I remember of that night is the drunkest woman I have ever seen in my life turns around with 2 drinks and, I shit you not, looks me directly in the eye and goes, "I still don't get it." But still, being taken out of a comedy venue against my will after blacking out, it's still not the worst gig I've ever had. You get to do bad gigs in comedy all the time. That's part of doing comedy. I did my first ever gig to 2 people, right, who absolutely hated me. I walked out to 2 people, and one of the 2 people, before I could even get a word out, I shit you not, goes, "You're shit," right? But I'm a pretty positive person. I thought, well, I've still got 50% of the audience, so I just turned slightly to that other person and I was like, "Are you having a good time?" And she said, "Fuck off and die." So it's always great to meet a fan, but the worst gig I ever did in my life, and I kind of still wake up and think about this gig some nights, it was a trivia night. I was going to do 20 minutes in the middle of a trivia night, right? Dream gigs, dreams do come true. And I was like, okay, great, I'll get there, it's going to be fine, it'll be fun, it'll be a fun gig, paid to do 20 minutes. And on the way, I was running late on the way, and I called the guy who was running the venue. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm running a little bit late." He said, "Don't even worry about it. I'm not there tonight, but they'll just put you on in the break. It's going to be great. Whenever you get there, they'll just put you on," right? So I get there, I'm sitting there, I'm waiting to go on. They haven't gone to a break yet, so I'm waiting. And then they go to a break. Now, a normal person would probably go, "Now's not my time to shine." But the show must go on, that's showbiz, baby. And I thought I'll just walk on. Unannounced. To the most confused crowd of all time. They must have thought that I was the drunk that had got up from the bar and just started talking about my life. Little bit of trivia for you right now. People who go to trivia nights fucking hate surprise comedy. They absolutely hate it. I don't know if they thought I was part of the trivia night, one of the answers to the questions. Because the answer that night was sadness and regret. I kept going and going for 20 minutes to complete silence, right? 20 minutes to complete silence. I kept going and going, and they were hating it and hating it. I'll give them more of that hate, using myself as punishment for that crowd, right? They were hating it so much. I did 20 minutes. My watch went off to say I've done 20 minutes. I did not linger. No standing ovation from them, lazy. And I walk off and go and sit at the bar where I belonged. And I look at my phone, right? And there were all these missed calls and messages from the guy who was running the venue, right? And one of these messages really kind of hit me in the face, right? All it said, and I shit you not, it said, "Sammy, where are you?" And that's when I realised there were 2 Imperial hotels in Melbourne. Both apparently have a trivia night on a Tuesday night, but only one had booked a comedian. I literally was the drunk that had got up from the bar and started talking about my life. They say when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I was working fucking hard that night, but... I know I kind of started the show in a very scary way, talking about the fact that I had a heart attack on stage, the environment that we are in right now. I do want to tell you 2 things. I'm not going to have a heart attack tonight, so don't worry about that. And the other thing, I'm not going to do any crowd work. Lots of terrified faces, just rest easy. I'm more afraid of you than you are of me. There's not going to be any crowd work. I might ask you a question. If you want to shout out something, please do, but don't feel like you have to. I'm not a big fan of crowd work because as someone that goes and sees a lot of shows, I'm not very good when a comedian talks to me. A friend of mine took me to go and see Eddie Izzard when I was a lot younger, and when I got there, they showed me the tickets and we were right up the front, right? And I was like, oh my God, I can't sit right up the front and watch one of my heroes, Eddie Izzard. What if Eddie Izzard talks to me? And my friend said, you can just talk back. Hadn't even occurred to me. Like, oh, okay. Right, I go, you're fine. If anyone can talk back to Eddie Izzard, you can, right? Which is an insane sentence to say. And I was like, oh, okay, right, I guess I can, right? I had this newfound confidence within myself, right? I was walking up to the stage like, yeah, you got this, you little king, go off, right? I was like, that's the last time I'll call myself a little king for this evening, but I kept walking up, right? I kept walking up to the stage, sit right up the front. And I shit you not, Eddie Izzard walks right on stage and Eddie Izzard says to me, what do you do for work, right? And my friend looks at me, I look at them, they are looking at me like, you've got this, you little king. Go off, you little goddamn king. And I took my crown off and I looked at my friend and I looked back at Eddie Izzard and I said, I don't know. I don't know. I really kind of tripped and broke my neck at the first hurdle, right? I don't know. And then Eddie Izzard looks at me and says, what do you mean you don't know? And I said, move on, please. Like suddenly I'm calling the shots. Move on, Eddie. I'm a little king. So don't worry, there's not going to be crowd work. Don't worry about that. I know when I said at the start of the show that I gave up stand-up when I was 26 years old, it doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people. But stand-up was all I wanted to do with my life, and it was all I was kind of passionate about. I grew up absolutely obsessed with comedy. Little Sammy loved comedy. My mum also loved comedy, and we used to watch Judith Lucy routines together. And I used to get up as a toddler and perform those Judith Lucy routines for my mum as a toddler. I used to stand there just going, my vagina, just like... And I know that is a stunning impression. But I used to just do Judith Lucy impressions for my mum. My mum loved comedy as well. My dad was born without a sense of humour. That's probably my mum clapping, I believe. My dad likes two acts. My dad likes Wil Anderson and he likes the Kranksky sisters. Not a big Venn diagram there. If you've never seen the Kranksky sisters, they're kind of like Tripod if Tripod were witches. And if you've never seen Tripod, they're kind of like the Kranksky sisters minus the witches. And pretty good explanation from me. And I grew up just absolutely obsessed with comedy. A friend of mine who was a bit older when I was on Phillip Island, a family friend, he went to go and see Judith Lucy once at the Melbourne Comedy Festival, right? Got the bus up. And I was like pressed up with my face against the window like that, just waiting for him to come back. Obviously, didn't have a lot going on in my life. And I was just waiting for him to come back and tell me about the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, right? And he told me that he saw Judith Lucy walk down the steps of the Melbourne Town Hall. Look, he's since got better stories, but that was one of them. I don't know, I didn't believe him, right? I didn't believe that Judith Lucy just walks free range in Melbourne. Like, I didn't believe that. One of the greatest icons of our time, just walking around, right? And I just absolutely love comedy. Little Sammy, all he wanted to do was comedy. I absolutely idolised it. And growing up on Phillip Island is a lovely, lovely place. I once overheard this conversation, which I think sums up Phillip Island really well. It was a person talking to another person, because that's how conversations work. And they said, Roscoe is the best dog I've ever had. And can you believe it that Roscoe was the cunt of his litter? And I was like, oh. Like, either you don't know that the correct terminology is runt of the litter, or you've assessed all of the dogs and decided Roscoe's the shittest cunt in the world, right? But I love growing up on Phillip Island, and I thought my mum was the funniest person I ever met. Also the first person I ever met, coincidentally. And my mum didn't like cooking, she didn't like baking when I was growing up. It's not your time to speak, love. And when I was growing up, just out of pure laziness, because she didn't like cooking or baking, my mum told me that you can't bake cakes, right? That you have to go to the bakeries to get those, and they won't give out the recipes, right? And I always just believed that, right? Until one time I went to my friend Caitlin's house, and Caitlin's mum had quite clearly baked a cake, right? And I was like, Caitlin, let me tell you a little something about bakeries, right? I think I invented mansplaining. And Caitlin was like, no, my mum baked a cake. I was like, fuck off, Caitlin. Your mum didn't bake a fucking cake, Caitlin. My mum baked a cake. I was like, fuck off, Caitlin. Your mum didn't bake a fucking cake, Caitlin. This goes for 20 minutes, this bit. My mum baked a cake. Fuck off, Caitlin. Your mum didn't bake a fucking cake, Caitlin. And I went home, right, my little mind was just exploding, right? I was like, Mum, Caitlin's mum said she baked a cake. How'd you get the rest from the bakery? And I shit you not, my mum takes one look at me and goes, oh, Caitlin's mum's a liar! Which I think is the best. Just deny everything. At primary school as well, we had this great prank, not my mum and I, but I had friends. Had this great prank in primary school. We'd walk up to each other. I don't know how you had this at primary school, but you'd walk up to each other and you'd be like, hey, Sammy, have you ever touched a BMW? And you go, yes. And the other kids would be like, oh my God, BMW means big man's willy. It's a little bit funnier at the time, right? You go up to each other and say that, and other kids at school like high-fiving, like best day ever, hilarious practical joke, right? Practical joke. And then my mum worked at the school, right? And so a kid decided to go up to her, and they said, hey, Miss Petersen, have you ever touched a BMW? She goes, look, I've never touched a BMW, but I've seen heaps of them. Right? Kids high-fiving, best day ever, right? And that was quite hard to live down, right? Until eventually another teacher went up to my mum and said, hey, Miss Petersen, do you know when the kids say BMW, what they actually mean is big man's willy? And my mum said the best thing. She just goes, oh, look, I'll still stand my ground. Which I respect. On Phillip Island, I tried to do any kind of performing when I was growing up. I did tap dancing. I know you didn't ask, but just thought I'd tell you. Usually tap dancing, and I wanted to tap dance everywhere that I went, right? As every young boy should. And I got my dad to put little metal clips on the bottom of my everyday walking shoes, so that I could just tap wherever I went. And like, my mum was like, my mum was kind of embarrassed, like, not for me, but for her. Like, when you're a teenager and you walk like a block ahead of your parents because you're embarrassed? That was my mum with me. But you could hear me everywhere I was, tippy-tappy, right? And I used to go into shops on Phillip Island where everyone knew everyone. I used to go into shops and just kind of tap on the ground and assess whether or not I could tap on that ground, right? The worthiness of the store. And I used to go in and just go, yep, you could tap on that and then proceed to perform for these poor people. Or what was far worse is that I'd go, nah, you couldn't tap on that, Mum. Let's go. Like, I'm not tapping on your bullshit floor, right? And I had to give up tap dancing at the age of 6. I was at the top of my game. And I had to give up tap dancing. I just sprained my ankle, and I'm fine now, don't worry. But when kids talk in absolutes, I was like, Mum, am I ever going to tap again? And she goes, look, there's bad news and there's good news. The bad news is you are never going to tap again. The good news is you are never going to tap again. And I didn't until tonight. No, that's not my massive closer. About 10 of us come out. It's hilarious. But yeah, I just loved any kind of performing when I was growing up. My name was Sammy and I loved comedy. I wanted to do any kind of performing. My neighbour, Ev, she was like a grandma to me. Brutal to my actual grandma, but loved Ev. Little fun fact about Ev, she had a glass eye and she used to take it out of her socket at bars and roll it across the table and say, I've got my eye on you. Fun for Ev. A little bit terrifying for everybody else, but Ev was great, and Ev would come to anything that I was doing. She was my biggest cheerleader when I was growing up, and we all need an Ev in our lives. Ev would just cheer me on with anything, and I used to put on these these puppet shows when I was like, imagine if I said it when I was 18 years. No, when I was like 6 years old, I filmed puppet shows and set out one seat, sold out crowd, and just bragging, but. Well, my brother would go, Michael, he would go and scalp tickets out the front, and I would put on these shows for Ev, and she was my biggest cheerleader. I kind of have this vivid memory of performing a puppet show for Ev, and Ev would just be going, oh my God, this is just like a production you get in Melbourne, just like, and I'm there with a sock puppet going, my vagina, just like the worst shit of all time, right? When I was 9 years old, I wrote poetry. Again, I know you didn't ask, but I'll tell you about it. And I wrote this poem. This is a real poem that I wrote when I was 9 years old. And I feel like it's a good time of the show for a sentimental moment. It's a beautiful poem, actually. Don't you start or I'll start. I'll try and get through it. Our chemistry's electric, but we will get through this. Okay. A beautiful cow looking at me. Its eyes the colour of the deep blue sea. Blood and guts roll by my foot. It's a frightening change from the dust and the soot. You promised me you wouldn't, but... A head rolls by my ankles. It's the head of a cow. Off to be somebody's tea. Its eyes now the colour of a disused sea. La la la. My first trip to the abattoir. I never felt different when I was growing up. Even though I wrote poems about deceased cows and performed puppetry for a woman with a glass eye, I never felt different. My name was Sammy and I loved comedy. You might notice this about me, if you don't know already, I have a thing called facial palsy, where I lost a few of the nerves on the left side of my face. So when I smile, I don't get the lift on both sides. I like to say I lost the nerves. I didn't technically lose them. I didn't walk out of the house one day going, "Ooh, got my keys, wallet, nerves in half my face." Right? When I was born, the doctors pressed the forceps a little bit too tight and damaged half the nerves in my face during delivery. I don't know about you, but like, I kind of really respect that doctor. Because I think we've all had those kind of moments when you want to kind of knock off a bit early that day. Really phone the most important bit of your job in. And because of that one doctor, I cannot relate to the smiling emoji at all. Like, every time I see the smiling emoji, I go, ooh, just halve that enthusiasm. The closest emoji I can get to my face is the smirking emoji, which just looks creepy after every single text. Every time I send the smirking emoji to a friend, it looks like I want to root my friend, which is only true half the time. But I would say I'm an optimist. My smile is half full. In fact, I've got a grin from ear. Thank you. That is the end of the joke. Thank you so much. I'll now end every joke by saying that is the end of the joke. Thank you so much. I went in to see the doctor a little while ago. I just had a head cold. I went in to see the doctor. And without even blinking, the doctor was like, "So, when did you have the stroke?" A pretty bold opening gambit from Doc, right? But bizarrely, I'm probably the only person you'll ever meet in your whole life who sort of wants to have a stroke, you know? Just to sort of level things out smile-wise. And you're correct, that is a great joke. And it's also the end of the joke. Thank you so much. Thank you to those two people that clapped, I really do appreciate that. I never felt different about the way I looked, never felt different about the way that I smiled at all. But one day, I used to swim quite a lot, right? I used to be in a swimming club, and I used to just love swimming, like all day, every day, just swimming, just having a great time. And at one point, for my club, I was swimming butterfly, and I'd done that quite a few times. And then at one point, just to get more points for the club, my coach decided to put me in the disabled swimming race. Just to get more points for the club, right? And good on him, I guess. You've got to have ambition. At everyone else's risk and future trauma. And I didn't know anything that was really happening at that point. I looked out who I was swimming against. I was swimming against two kids, one who was about 4 years younger than me, who had Down syndrome, and another kid who was born without any arms, right? And don't laugh at that. I love that I'm making you feel bad about it. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, the club was certainly looking at me different. Like everyone that I kind of swam with that day just had a different look on their face about me, and it was kind of like it was just a defining moment in my life, right? And I looked out and my mum walked all the way around to where I was just before I was about to dive in to the pool. And she said the most amazing thing. It was the most inspiring thing that I've ever heard. She said, don't ever let this define you. Don't ever let this hold you back. And I was like, that's amazing, isn't it? Like, what a thing to say in such a definitive moment, knowing what to say in that moment. And the guns went off and I dove in. And I absolutely smashed them. Like, they were... Thank you. Yeah, fuck them. They were... That's the only time, I've done this show for 2 years, that is the only time people have given me a round of applause in that moment. Thank you so much. The final time I do this show, I finally got an applause in that moment. But I did another fucking lap. I did not let that hold me back at all. And I got what my mum was saying. Thrash them. But I moved to Melbourne and I was kind of just so excited to get in the comedy world. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to start doing comedy. But, for bills and stuff, spoiler, you have to have a job, right? You have to just get one, right? And I know first impressions are really important. Vibes are really important. I know that I have the vibe of someone who works at JB Hi-Fi. That's always the vibe that I've given out to the world. Do you know what your vibe is? Someone who's not want to be spoken to, I respect that. But I have always given out this vibe to the world. A friend of mine, he has the vibe of someone who gives really good directions. I don't know what it is about him, maybe because he looks confident, maybe because he's really tall, but every time we're out together, he gets stopped and asked for directions, right? And the other day, we're trying to find like a really cool Melbourne bar. Like it's down a few alleyways, like under a tarpaulin, like a really cool Melbourne bar, right? And on the way to this bar, we get lost, right? We get lost on the way to this bar. But as we're getting lost, a lady approaches and she says, "Hey, sorry, do you know where this is?" And my friend said, "Yeah, you just go down there. It's to the left, to the right." You can tell I've never given directions in my life. You just go straight down there. It's right there. And she goes, "Oh my God, thank you so much," and walked off. And I said, "Man, that is so cool. You literally know where everything is." And he goes, "Here's the thing, Sammy, here's the thing. You can just make it up." I was like, "Oh, baby doll, I know. Like, I know you can just make it up. Like, anyone can just make it up." And he goes, No. It's a win-win situation." I go, "I don't think you know what that phrase means, win-win situation." He goes, "No, it's great. Like, I'm happy, I've given directions. They're happy temporarily. And my friend went from someone who had the vibe of someone who gave really good directions to kind of the vibe of an absolute fuckhead." And my friend and I, we get lost on the way to this bar. Of course we do. I'm following my friend, right? We get lost. We get to a dead end in this alleyway. And I turn to my friend and I go, "Wow, looks like we've found ourselves in a bit of a win-win situation." But I can't talk because I do get approached at JB Hi-Fi so much. And now I just pretend that I work there. I can't be bothered anymore. The other day, a lady approached me and she says, "Do you have Pride and Prejudice on Blu-ray?" And instead of saying, "I'm so sorry, I don't work here," I said, "Sure." So we're just walking over there, me and my hostage, and we're just making general chit-chat on the way. She says, how long have you worked here for? And I said, in excess of 2 years. I don't know why I said in excess of 2 years. Like, I just forgot to talk like a normal fucking person. And we finally get to the section where I assumed Pride and Prejudice would be. Now, this is an industry term. You might not know this. It was out of stock, which is kind of wild because I pretended to stock it earlier that day. And then I do the most insane thing I've ever done in my life. I turn to, and I always forget what to call them, I turn to an actual employee, like not a self-appointed person like myself. I turn to an actual employee of JB Hi-Fi, and these words actually come out of my mouth. I go, do we have Pride and Prejudice on Blu-ray? And I shit you not, this person takes one look at me and goes, we? You don't work here, right? And then this lady who I was trying to help looks at me kind of like I'm a psychopath. And I kind of hope that's a level I go to help someone. Like, I hope that one day I'm on a plane and someone collapses and someone yells out, is there a doctor in the house? Because I reckon I'd take one look around and go, I'll give it a crack. All I wanted to do was stand-up comedy. That's why I moved to Melbourne. I wanted to do stand-up comedy. My name was Sammy and I loved comedy. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do stand-up comedy. Some would say I still don't. But I... Thank you for not laughing at that. That's actually lovely. But I decided I'd go to a comedy workshop. And that's when I met a man by the name of Greg Fleet. Oh dear is correct. Do everyone knows Greg Fleet? Does anyone want to, for anyone that doesn't, anyone want to shout out something about Greg Fleet? Just say he owes me $20. That's correct. Greg Fleet in the... Pardon?
Melbourne's comedy junkie.
Melbourne's comedy junkie. Well put. It's a great review for Fleety. When I was growing up, I loved Fleety. Fleety in the 90s revolutionised comedy. Greg Fleet was the best comedian. He was the fastest. He was the sharpest. Just the funniest. He kind of revolutionised it. A lot of people have their voices in comedy today because of Greg Fleet. They kind of mimicked him for a while and found their own voices, and he was just incredible, right? But the Greg Fleet that I met in 2010 was not the Greg Fleet of the 90s. Greg Fleet has a heroin addiction and a 30-plus year heroin addiction. When Fleety came and saw this show, he at that point of the show went, oh, shit. you do know. But Fleety, you know, I kind of saw him as a bit of an idol, and Fleety asked me when I was just starting out, he asked me if I would like to come and open for him at the Melbourne Fringe Festival, right? I couldn't believe it. Like, he was asking me to come and open for him. I only had 5 minutes of material. I was so green. I only had 5 minutes of material. The amazing thing about Greg Fleet was that he would come out first on stage. He would kind of warm the crowd up and get his audience really on your side, and then he would introduce you, so you would have a much better set. I don't know many comedians that would do that, and it was just incredible. You know, that was incredible. I got to open for him for 4 nights. Every night he would introduce me on stage, and then I'd introduce him. But one night, Greg Fleet did not come back. So I do my 5 minutes of material. Remember, that's all I had. People are there to see an hour show. And I go, thank you so much, everybody. You've been an amazing crowd. Would you please welcome back to the stage the man you've been waiting for, Greg Fleet. He's not actually coming. Greg Fleet. Greg Fleet. It was like the shittest magic trick of all time, right? I looked up the back. I didn't really know what to do. And his manager, Andrew, is just standing there, right? Just doing this. Just stretch it out, right? Stretch it out. I only had 5 minutes while they were trying to find Greg Fleet. I only had 5 minutes of material, right? So I just decided in that moment to do my 5 minutes again. But I guess slower this time, which is always good. So I do my 5 minutes again, and a lady up the front goes, I think I've heard this before. I then look up the back of the room, and Andrew is still doing this. I do it a third time. Again, not that great. First time, much better. I look up the back, and Andrew is again doing this. Right. I don't know what to do. I only had my 5 minutes that I've repeated 3 times in a row. Very confused crowd. I take the mic out of the stand because I think I'd seen this on TV. I go, wow, what else is happening in the news? And a man shoots up out of his seat and he looks me directly in my face and he says, nothing! Right? Nothing! Which, if you've ever read the news, is rarely true. And then a woman next to him goes, shut up, Four Eyes. Four Eyes. I hadn't heard the term Four Eyes as an insult in a very long time. And I've never really understood the term Four Eyes. You don't look at someone with a walking stick and go, shut up, Three Legs. And I didn't really know what to do right in that moment. I didn't know what to do. Greg Fleet called me the next day and he said, how was it? And I was like, the first or third time. But did I confront Greg Fleet about the experience and said how awful that was for me? No, I did not. I was 18 years old and I didn't know what to do. I kind of thought that Greg Fleet at that point in my life was kind of the Willy Wonka of the chocolate factory. A little bit more heroin than chocolate, but I was like, I kind of wanted to work with Fleety. I thought that I might learn a lot from Greg Fleet, and I certainly did. But Greg Fleet asked me at one point if I would like to do a sketch show for him during the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. He was going to write a show of sketches and we would perform them together for 30 nights in a row. And I couldn't believe it. Like, Greg Fleet was asking me to do a show with him and he was going to write it and, you know, maybe I'd write one sketch just to help him out. Like, he's a busy guy. I might write 2 sketches. You know, it's Greg Fleet. He can't write a whole show. I might write the whole thing, but I was getting to work with Greg Fleet for 30 nights in a row, right? And 2 days before the show opened, when Greg Fleet was clean at the time, 2 days before the show opened, he had a comedy festival show written about him and he started using again. And I met up with Greg Fleet and the director of the show, and Fleety at that point was kind of blinking for like a minute at a time. And if you know anything about blinking, that shit ain't right. And I'm quick as a whip, I knew that. And I have to get up pretty early in the day to catch me out with blinking. And I don't know what that means. The weirdest sentence I've ever said in my life. Glad I've got it on tape, great. But Greg Fleet's like blinking for a minute at a time. And the director says, Fleety, are you okay? And Fleety goes, yeah. I'm really excited about the show. But can I get $20? Because I need to get to St Kilda. And the director said, and I shit you not, the director says, Fleety, we're in St Kilda. But I guess when you blink for a minute at a time, you don't really know where you are. And 2 days later, the show opens. 2 days later, the director has quit the show. We open, and the show's meant to open with one sketch in particular where I'm playing a book publisher and Fleety is playing a very Australian Roald Dahl. The entire sketch was pretty much written so I could say the name Roald, because I don't think anyone in his whole life ever called him Roald. So I was like, you know, he's playing a very Australian Roald Dahl. He walks in, I go, hey, Roald, how are you, Roald? You good, Roald? And he goes, yeah, I'm good. What's going on? He goes, I've just written a new kid's book. I go, oh, great, what's it called? And he goes, it's called the BFG. I go, oh my God, amazing. What's it about? He goes, it's about a big giant. Oh, incredible. Sounds so good for kids. I'd love it. He goes, yeah. I go, BFG, what does that stand for? And he goes, the big fucking giant. And I'm like, oh, like, maybe, okay. It's for kids, is it? He goes, yeah, for kids. Strictly for kids. And I go, okay. And it's called he goes, the big fucking giant. I go, okay, well, maybe we could just kind of tweak it a little bit. It's for kids. What about the big friendly giant? And he goes, nah, he's a fucking giant. I go, okay, no. Well, maybe we'll leave it. Have you got any other kids' book ideas? And he goes, yep, I got one other. James and the Fuck Off Peach. And I go, okay, no, maybe we'll skip that, right? And this is how the show was meant to start, right? But in the sketch on the first night, Greg Fleet forgot what the BFG was meant to stand for in the sketch, right? So we start the show and I go, hey, Rold, how are you, Rold? I've heard you've got a new kids' book idea. And he goes, yep. I go, what's it called? And he goes, the BFG. I go, what does that stand for? And he says, I don't know, the big friendly giant. Now, look, if you've ever watched comedy or liked comedy, you probably know not a lot of wriggle room there with where we could go with the sketch. And every night for 30 nights, I was just pressing on Greg Fleet's foot every night going, that's not really the line though, is it? Every single night for 30 nights, I was doing this. It was the first one-man show with two performers. And I don't know, like there was something about it. There's a very famous person, Barry Humphries, who's a very, very famous transphobe. Barry Humphries, famous transphobe Barry Humphries was once asked in an interview with a journalist. He was once asked, "What does it feel like to go on stage every night to 1,000 people? What does that feel like?" And famous transphobe Barry Humphries said, alone at last. Great for famous transphobe Barry Humphries. Little bit rude to the audience to be like, alone at last. And every night when Greg Fleet and I would start the show, I would look across at Fleety and go, alone at last. And I had to move away from Greg Fleet at that point in my life. I had to find other inspirations, other heroes. And that's when I met Fiona O'Loughlin. I like to take a drink in the awkward moments. Cowards drink when they've got laughter. Oh, not me. I know Fiona's been very public about her alcohol addiction. I made a documentary about Fiona, with Fiona, and for a long time she was my best friend in the world. But hurt people, that's what they say. And Fiona continued a cycle of hurting people. And I have a lot of respect for Fiona as a comedian. I think she was one of the best comedians that this country ever produced. But hurt people. I absolutely love Fiona, and a friend of mine, when I said I was going to do a show about Fiona O'Loughlin and Greg Fleet, my friend said, I know, you could kind of describe it in this way. You could kind of say they're like the bananas in pyjamas. Fucked one and fucked two. But I was like, that's not really fair because they were my absolute heroes. I absolutely love them and I still idolise them in that way. Not everything's black and white, and as we get older we realise that we all have our crosses to bear and you never really know what's going on in someone else's life. I kind of think about it like if you're an actor, right, and you grow up loving Johnny Depp, right, and one day you get the opportunity to work with Johnny Depp. Is he the same Johnny Depp that you grew up loving? No. Do you work with him just in case you might see a glimpse of his former self that you fell in love with and inspired you to be an actor and devote your life entirely to this? Maybe. Do you risk public humiliation every single night and perform with them every single night? Have you met me? So Fiona and I did a play together. The play was called Creationism, and we were going to do it every single night. Fiona and I played two angels in this play, typecast. And at the start of the show, it was a blackout, right? And God did a voiceover, not the actual God, we couldn't get him, but it was like he was too busy. But it was, the voiceover of God said, on the first day, there was light. The lights came on the first night. I look over at Fiona, my partner, on stage for an hour, and she's asleep. And I think, alone at last. And I am again just pressing her foot down for a whole show. It was absolutely brutal. 5 weeks of my life doing this show every single night. But little Sammy would have kind of been really happy in this moment because I met an international comedian. I've got better stories than that, but good night. But I was sitting backstage, right, and I couldn't believe it. I was getting to be in this world. I was getting to be with all these other comedians, and I've never called myself a comedian. I'm kind of just a comedy man, but I admire comedians and the craft so much, and I couldn't believe that I was getting to talk to an international comedian, right? And I said, how's your show going? And he said, it's going great. And he goes, how's your show going? And I was like, let's skip that bit. And I said, I'd love to come and see you one night. And he goes, any night you want, just come. I was like, okay, when do you need bums on seats? I'll come tonight. And he goes, yeah, it's sold out, but come. And I went, okay, well, I'll come tomorrow night then. And he goes, I'm sold out. I was like, what about I come, when do you need me? I'll come the next night then. And he goes, no, I've sold out for the 5 weeks. And I was like, who are you? Daniel Kitson? It was Daniel Kitson. And I then went and watched the best 2 hours of comedy I have ever seen in my life. It was absolutely incredible. And then Daniel Kitson came and watched me just kick a drunk woman on stage for an hour. It was absolutely brutal, right? Alone at last every single night, right? And I went back to Melbourne after these 5 weeks thinking, I don't know if comedy's for me. And I was just kind of just hanging out in Melbourne, having a great time, and a friend of mine said, would you like to come and see my favourite comedian, Daniel Kitson, right? And I thought, great, I'll go and get to see Daniel Kitson again, right? So after the show, after the best 2 hours ever, we're sitting in a bar, and you'll never guess who was in the bar. Judith Lucy? Not Judith Lucy. Think about the story I just told. I love Judith too, but we're not listening to my stories. So funny when I said I'm not going to do crowd work. I'm just like... It was Daniel Kitson, right? Yeah. Imagine if I just brought someone up that you didn't know at all. I was like, it was Ray Romano. Anyway, you got to fill an hour somehow. Judith Lucy. She's sitting there going, my vagina. But so Daniel Kitson was at the bar. And my friend goes, oh my God, that's... We need to start the show again. I'm so sorry. You're so funny. So at the bar, this is now the worst story I've ever told. So at the bar, there were 2 people. Oh, you would have had to been there. That's how all my jokes end from now on. You would have had to been there. At the bar, I look across and it's Daniel Kitson. And I shit you not, Daniel Kitson has 2 drinks in his hand, and my friend is like, oh my God, that's Daniel Kitson. We should go and talk to Daniel Kitson. And I'm like, nah. Like, he's a busy guy. He doesn't want to talk to us. And Daniel Kitson turns around with 2 drinks in his hand. He looks directly at me, and he goes, I shit you not, Sammy, that was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. An international comedian knew my name. It was incredible. Oh, thank you. And my name was Judith Lucy. After these experiences with, two of my heroes, I kind of had to take stock a bit. I had to kind of take a step back. I kind of realised that in the industry I was becoming known as the addict, which, I'm not an addict myself, but I think I might be a carrier. And I didn't really know what to do. I mean, I kind of do have a history of loving addicts. That's something about me that I've just always loved addicts because they are the greatest people in the world for a while. They're the most charming people in the world, and I do get addicted to those sorts of personalities. The first addict I ever met was my brother Michael. My brother, from a young age, started smoking marijuana, and it led to other drugs, and he became a very violent person. My family and I have always had kind of restraining orders on him, and it turned out to be a very violent person in my life, and also, my poor parents that continually have to deal with this. But also, having said all of that, addicts can be real funny. And you have to go with me on this bit. But I remember one time I came home and the house was just completely smashed up. Like a microwave being thrown across the room and the windows smashed and everything. And I walked in and I saw him. It was just before we called the police for one of the first times, right? And I looked at Michael and I was like, oh my God, Michael, what happened? And he goes... It's political. It's political. Sounds like an answer to a different question, Michael. And he goes, I don't think I should have to take drugs to be around people. I think people should have to take drugs to be around me. I was like, I don't think anyone's drinking that Kool-Aid, Michael. But I had to move away from the addicts in my life, and that's when I met a book publisher. Huge. Books are still really big. And after one show that I did, a book publisher came up to me. I didn't know he was a book publisher, but, through the art of conversation, I learned. He wasn't like the Penguin from Penguin Publishing. He was not so, characteristic. And I was like, oh, okay, right. He said to me, would you like to come into my office tomorrow and we could talk books? I didn't really know what that meant. I still don't really know what that means, but I was like, great, I'll come in tomorrow and we can talk books. It's very Hollywood, right? Oh, my God. So I went into the office the next day, and on the wall of his office, he had this book poster on the wall that was huge, and the book was called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Chemo. It was a really popular book at the time by a guy called Luke Ryan about his cancer treatment and his journey through cancer while also doing comedy. And I was like, oh my God, I've made it. Like, this is huge. This is a reputable book publisher, wants to talk to me about my book idea, right? Hollywood is calling. And I walk into this office and I'm standing there. And the book publisher looks at me and he says, you are going to write the next A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Chemo. And I was like, oh, have I got cancer? Like, this is a pretty brutal way for me to find this out, right? And he goes, no, you are going to write a book about your fucked face. I was like, oh, sorry. And he goes, you are going to write a book. And I go, I got that bit. About your fucked face. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And I sat down across from this adult man. And he goes, have you even got a title? I didn't know this is how Hollywood worked, right? I was like, oh, my God, okay. You even got a title. And he goes, why the long face? Why the long face? Why the long face? And I was like, oh, baby doll, I'm not a horse. Like, I don't know if he actually thought he was talking to a horse, and I had to kind of like bang my foot twice for no, but I didn't do that because you can't tap on that. But I didn't know what to do, and he kept going, right? I don't know if he thought that maybe I liked it because only half my face was frowning at the time, but he says, "Why the long face? The story of a boy who's trying to make people laugh when he can't even smile himself." Why the long face? The story of a boy who's trying to make people laugh when he can't even smile himself. Why the long face? The story of a boy who's trying to make people laugh when he can't even smile himself. I didn't know what to do in this situation. I was so young, I didn't know what to do. It's not available after the show, imagine that. It's available. Please buy one, or I'll have a long face. And I had a friend call me as I was leaving, which was amazing. And do you know who that was?
Wait, hang on. I should know because I'm a counsellor. I should listen.
Have you been listening at all? Yeah.
Your mate was Fiona O'Loughlin.
Fiona O'Loughlin. Wrong again. And it's also someone I haven't mentioned. So it's so funny that I made you guess. This will be a fun game. Let's bring up a game that no one can win. My friend Dave Warnicky, who's an amazing comedian. I'll ask you again if you want.
Yeah, Dave Wernicke.
Dave Warnicky. Do you want to do it again? We're not doing this in one take, so don't worry about it. Do you want to just, yeah. And then, oh, sorry, I'll go. And then a friend called me. Do you want to have a guess who that was?
Dave Warnicky.
Yes! Oh my God, that's incredible. Oh my God. And Dave Warnicky called me and I told him about this book idea, right? And he goes, "That's amazing. You should definitely do that." Because I've read a funny thing happened on the way to chemo, and I thought it was incredible, like the cancer journey, the trials and tribulations of going through chemo, the change in relationships. It was so dense. And I can't wait to read your pamphlet about having a slightly slanted smile. Dave also has a slightly webbed throat. I'm not just telling you this for... You know this already. But he has a slightly webbed throat. It takes him a little bit longer to digest things. And Dave goes to me, "Oh my God, that is so funny that you spoke to that publisher today because he also called me today." I was like, "Oh my God, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, he asked me to write a book. You've got to be choking. The story of a boy who's trying to cook a meal when he can't even swallow himself." It's incredible. And that laugh is the biggest in the show, and I didn't even say it. It's a great Dave Warnicky. But you might not know the reference. Why the long face? It's I'm kind of glad that you're sitting down. Because it's actually a really funny joke. If you start, I'll start, because this is like, you know what we're like. It's a horse. Just walks into a bar. And you're not going to believe this. A horse walks into a bar. The barman looks at the horse. Correct. And he says, "Why the long face?" Cac, I don't think the mic's on again. Let me see if... sorry, I'll do it again. Just so we can get it. As well, we're doing it in one take, so let's just try and... Okay. It's a horse. Clippy cloppy, like tap dancing, kind of. Like, you know, just walks into a bar. You won't believe what happens next. The barman sees that as a completely normal situation. It's going to make me laugh. The barman sees that and goes, "Why the long face?" I don't think everyone got it. If we could just, I just gotta get it. I gotta get it clean. We're filming this. I want to get it clean. It's a horse, right? It's a fuck off horse, right? Walks into a bar, right? The barman sees that as a completely normal situation, right? Doesn't get startled. Horses hate that. He looks at that, right? And he goes, turns the TV off. Boys. Boys, put the Asahis down. Boys. Hey, horse. One long face. Yeah! It's a funny joke. It's a really funny joke. And in case you didn't get it, because it's quite a smart, funny joke, I went on a wonderful website called reddit.com and I looked up the explanation for the joke, and it's actually a really stunning explanation for the joke. Bartenders are known for their ability to listen to the problems of their customers. Pretty good. That's what they're known for. Horses are known for having a long face. So the bartender is indicating that he wants to listen to the problems of the guest even when it's a horse, right? Pretty good explanation of the joke. My favourite thing about this is someone explained this joke, then you've got all the people on Reddit love to comment. This is one comment. Ha 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 ha! This is blisteringly clever. Thanks for explaining. Another comment. Still don't get it. I don't think I'll ever understand it. I love that they've just given up. I don't think I'll ever understand that. Oh well, on with my life. My favourite comment is this. I'd been in a bar when a horse walked in and it was no joke. Dude riding a horse just walked in through the front door. My wife, who grew up with horses, we should have known. I'm so sorry. Recognised the look on the horse's face and said, that horse is about to freak the fuck out. She would know too because her sister Catherine grew up with horses too. We should have known about Catherine. Catherine does not come back in the story. That's the only time Catherine's mentioned. Fortunately, the horse and none of the patrons freaked out, and he eventually backed out of the bar. Then my wife started sneezing because allergies. Yeah. It's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, funny joke, and I think we all get it now. What I was trying to say. I kind of moved on in my life at that point. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I wanted to be. And I started to kind of look at myself in a mirror, I guess. I don't know. Like, I kind of look at myself in a way to go, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? And I kind of started focusing on my personal life. I met someone at this point of my life, and I thought she was going to be the one. And her name was Juliet. My mum's not a fan of Juliet. I know that disapproving. Oh. Pardon? It's not true.
I love Juliet.
Well, you won't like where this story goes. She's also seen the show heaps. Oh. It's like a pantomime with Mum. Oh. I met Juliet, right? And Juliet and I were about to move in together. And a few weeks before we were about to move in together, Juliet decided to go on a vacation overseas. She wanted to get away for a little bit, go on a European getaway. And her dad was going to go and pick her up from the airport, right? But I was like, I'll go and surprise her, right? I'll go and surprise her at the airport. My mum loves this story. And I went, to go and pick her up, and I decided to make a sign. I decided to make a sign, and it had like Aunties on it, and it said, "Welcome home, Julia." I really spent a afternoon on it. It was just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I was just like, made this sign, and I rocked up at the airport, and I didn't know, because I didn't have her flight details. I didn't know that her flight was delayed for like 3 hours, right? So I was just standing there with this sign, with a hopeful look on my face for anyone that would come through the gate, right? And I was just waiting, I don't know if people thought that I was a loved one or a chauffeur with a real flair for craft, and standing there, right? Just standing there, just waiting, right? Just waiting for her to come back. And then she did. And she said the most romantic thing I've ever heard. She says, "Oh my God, Sammy, I've met someone else." And then she says the second most romantic thing I've ever heard. She goes, "Can I still get a lift home?" Which, you're starting, because I'll start. And then she said, and I shit you not, she says, "Can Jonathan have a lift home too?" I felt bad. I hadn't made a sign for Jonathan. And then I gave Jonathan and her a lift home. They sat in the back seat, and I gave them a lift home. And at no point did Juliet have the time to explain who I was to Jonathan. So I still kind of like to think at this point in his life, he still thinks that I'm an Uber driver. Because at one point he did say to me, "So, how long have you been driving for?" And I said, "In excess of 2 years." I decided to go out that night and get really, really drunk, because that's always a really good idea when you've been heartbroken, is to go out and get really, really drunk. And I decided to go out with a couple friend of mine who had recently said that they lost a spark in their relationship. Hell yeah. You know what this is saying? Pardon? Unicorn. Yeah, correct. It's a unicorn?
It's a unicorn, yeah.
What's a unicorn?
The unicorn is the third person that...
Unicorn is the third person. Is this correct, or is she trying to trick me? We've formed a difficult relationship over this hour. A unicorn is someone that sleeps with couples. Can anyone confirm this? Yes. Oh, okay. I would love that. No, it would be so... I do have faith in you. But it would be so funny as well if you told me that, and then I go out and I'm telling people, because that's such a funny thing to like play a hilarious practical joke that you'll never see the benefit of. Just like going, "Yeah, they're called unicorns." I don't know in what situation I keep bringing this up with people, but just call me a unicorn. But yeah, so basically I was a unicorn, right? So these people asked me if I would like to come back to their place and have a ménage à trois. And if you're not up to date on Duolingo, that's French for fucking. And I, not knowing I was a beautiful unicorn at the time, I turned to a somewhat empty bar and said to no one in particular something I've never said before and hopefully will never say again. I went, "Que sera, sera." Yeah, I did. Hated myself. Que sera, sera. And look, I didn't really know what to do. I went back to their place, right? And the spark was very much not lost in their relationship. Like, they're ripping off each other's clothing. They are about to get it on, right? And then I'm just there. just hanging out. Is that new? Is that... Just like... Oh, you couldn't tap on that. You know, like when you're skipping and you're trying to wait for the right rhythm to get involved? I was like that. The right moment did not come. And I needed to get out of this situation, right? And so I sent some texts, right, to a friend to get out of this situation. And these are the texts that I sent. Hey, what's you doing? My friend goes, hey, Sammy, how did it go with Juliet? I go, think I thought a Uber driver, ha ha. My friend quite rightly says, what? I go, that's right, like no further explanation needed, right? They quite rightly say, are you okay? I say, then I almost had sex with friends, ha ha. My friend says, what? Then I say, still have sign. Big night, woo! Now, you think these texts were sent well after midnight? These texts were sent at 9:18 p.m. My friend says, are you okay? And then I say, que sera, sera. Thank you. It was hard to know what was a regular broken heart at this point of my life and what was a medical broken heart. Turned out when I collapsed on stage in 2018, the results finally came back. It was medical. I kept giving my heart to people that didn't want it. And I didn't really know what to do at that point. I didn't really know what to do at that point of my life. I'd been left by two of my heroes or former heroes on stage. I got told the only reason I was funny was because of how I looked, and my heart had quite literally stopped working on stage. Hurt people, that's something that they say. But something they don't say is they don't have to. I've been hurt. I'm sure a lot of people in this room have been hurt. And I don't think there's anything stronger than someone who has been hurt but chooses instead to be kind. And I decided, to do that instead. I decided to kind of, while the dream of doing stand-up was taken away from me, I felt like I could just kind of be myself and go and support all of my friends that had supported me. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a comedy fan. I started a podcast called Confessions so that I could kind of be in the comedy world without being in the comedy world. And I got a massive dog called Diggs, Missy Higgins, and I'm sitting at home with Diggs one night, and I thought all the way back to that disabled swimming race that I won. And I thought, don't ever let this hold you back. There's a reason the rear vision mirror is smaller than the windscreen. You have to look forward, not back. And at the age of 32 that I was at the time, 2 years ago, I was done with looking back. I started to get up at comedy clubs again. It was really hard at first. It was a really scary thing to do. And I decided that I would get up and start doing stand-up again. This was the first place that I came. I did my first show here. And thank you. And the people of Comedy Republic gave me a home again, and I really felt that. I was once again doing stand-up, something that little Sammy would be proud of. Every night I do this show, I look up the back of the room and imagine that little Sammy's looking at me, and he's so proud that I've finally done a show. I would like to say thank you so much to the great Marieke for directing the show, to Brodie for filming here, Cac, who's done the tech tonight, and everyone here at Comedy Republic. And also for you for supporting me and coming out tonight. There's so many other options tonight, and I really do appreciate that. I really appreciate it. And this is how I'm going to end the show tonight. I'm not going to come back out and do a massive tap routine. Because you can't tap on that. But this is how I'm going to end the show. The show is called Why the Long Face. That's what the show is called. But since then, there's been sort of an updated tagline to the show. The full title of the show is Why the Long Face? The story of a boy who stood confidently for the first time in his life in front of a room full of people, finally by himself, and made them laugh. Thank you for giving me that. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you coming out. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.